booktubers, my name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today I'm going to be doing kind of a different type of video. And today I'm going to be giving you tips on how to maximize your read-a-thon experience. And I am definitely not an expert on this topic. I've literally only participated in 2 read-a-thons total. And the first time it didn't go so well, and the second time it was better. But I've never completed all the challenges or anything like that. But I'm making this video because I do feel like these tips are very helpful. Some of them I've never even used before, but I'm definitely going to be using these tips in upcoming read-a-thons, so I hope that some of these will also help you guys as well. There are so many read-a-thons happening nowadays, and Booktube-a-thon is happening just next week, and we're in the middle of hashtag TBR takedown, so obviously there are a lot going on. Read-a-thons are kind of stressful for me because I'm just naturally an anxious person, and so doing a read-a-thon and wanting to finish all of these challenges just really makes me very anxious and stressed, and so it makes it very hard for me to do read-a-thons. And so I try to just keep the amount of read-a-thons I do pretty low, even though I'm super excited for this upcoming read-a-thon, which is Booktube-a-thon. And so in anticipation of that, I decided to go ahead and make this video. So I hope that you guys enjoy these tips, and I hope that they'll help you in the future. And so the first tip I have for you guys is to always have a drink and snack on hand. Personally, I always have a drink around me whenever I read, whether it be water or tea or coffee or just pretty much any type of drink. I just really need one on hand for some reason whenever I read. I don't really know why that is, but I think it is very important. Obviously, you need to keep hydrated throughout your read-a-thon and not forget to drink or eat, especially whenever you plan on reading for long amounts of time. And so obviously the drink part is easy for me, and I'm sure it should be pretty easy for you guys. I mean, even if you just have a water bottle on hand at all times, that's pretty great. But the snack part is a little bit more difficult for me since I don't really prefer to eat while I'm reading, but having a little snack is not a bad thing, and it can definitely help you last longer between meals. Definitely not saying that you should go without eating, but just so then you can wait 30 more minutes until you need to eat dinner. Any small amount of time obviously helps during a read-a-thon. Personal favorite snacks of mine are granola bars or yogurt covered raisins or grapes. I mean, there's an endless possibility of what you want to snack on. Obviously, it's best if the snack only requires one of your hands, so then you can still have your book open while you're eating. And this might seem like a very simple tip, but it is also very important, and I definitely recommend that you guys always have something to eat and drink on hand. The second tip is kind of more for type A personalities like myself, and that is to have a reading schedule for the week or however long the read-a-thon lasts. This way you can make sure that you get quite a lot of reading done per day, especially whenever you have to work in your reading into your work and life schedule. So what I would recommend is that you have a set number of hours that you want to read per day, and then to actually schedule that into your time that you actually have. So then whenever it reaches that time, okay, it's now 3 o'clock, I have to sit down and read. That way you can kind of discipline yourself and make sure that you are reading the amount that you want to be reading. And you can also de-stress and not worry about reading within the 20 minutes you have between one thing and another, because you have 2 hours in place later in the day. Personally, this is a tip that I'm definitely going to be using, and it really helps to make sure that I'm reading as much as I want to, and it definitely decreases my personal stress levels. My next tip is to leave notes in your books that are both encouraging and also give you a small reward, like congratulations on reaching the halfway point of your book, reward yourself by watching a booktube video. Just simple things like that allow you to be really encouraged throughout your reading experience, and they also give you a goal to strive towards. So especially if you are a goal-oriented person, this definitely helps. I've started to just put these notes in the halfway points of all of my books that are on my TBR for the month, and I find them to be very encouraging, but especially during read-a-thons, I think they'd be an enormous help. And also, if you don't really have anyone you can talk to about the read-a-thon, at least you have some encouraging thoughts throughout your book. And obviously, you don't just have to put 1, you can put 2 or 3. Just however many you need so then you can feel encouraged. But I really think it's a great idea, and you guys should at least try it. Even if you don't do read-a-thons, maybe just put it in some of your books for your upcoming TBRs. My fourth tip is to read in different locations throughout the day. And this is a pretty self-explanatory tip, but I do think it helps just to make sure that you're not in a monotonous state. Maybe you read outside for a while, and then on your bed, and then maybe in the living room if you can find some quiet time. Obviously, the main thing is to make sure that you're comfortable wherever you're reading, and also trying to get in a quiet area. I personally just like to read in my bedroom, but I'm starting to read in other places, and I think that does help to kind of get you out of a funk, especially whenever you're not really into your book. If you're reading in a different or possibly new location, that somehow kind of helps to rewire your brain into getting more into that novel. Whenever I do read-a-thons from now on, I'll probably try to read in different locations throughout the day, and actually set times in which I want to be in those different locations. Maybe in the morning is a better time to be in the nature, so then it gets you to be more awake. And at night, of course, it's easier to just read in your bed because that allows you to relax from the day. But I definitely suggest that you read in a multitude of locations. This next tip is more about your TBR books for your read-a-thon, and that tip is to vary the length, genre, and medium of the books that you read. First off, I feel like the length is very self-explanatory. Obviously, you don't want to just be reading like 400-page books throughout the entirety of any read-a-thon, but maybe if you can find some novellas to read to like split apart big books, and also throw in some graphic novels. So instead of your TBR looking like all large books, you can have maybe 2 medium books, then a large one, and then 2 short ones. It's really anything that will vary the books that you read. And next we have the genre, which obviously refers to the type of book that you're reading. So what I'm basically saying is don't read all high fantasy books in 1 week. Like maybe read a fantasy, then contemporary, then fantasy, then contemporary, or maybe a fantasy and then historical fiction, and then contemporary, and then adult. Just really don't boggle your mind with this one genre, because that can definitely make the different stories run together and make you not enjoy the books you're reading as much. And then whenever I'm talking about medium, I'm referring to how you're reading this book. So maybe you have traditional books, but then you also have ebooks and audiobooks. So I would at least recommend that you throw in an audiobook within your read-a-thon. But maybe you read faster on ebooks. It kind of just depends on which medium you read the fastest and which one makes you feel the best about your reading. My second to last tip for you guys is to follow the host and other people participating in the same read-a-thon that you are doing, which will help with motivation. So like watch their videos on YouTube and also follow them on Twitter, especially if they're updating the reading progress. This way you will just have more motivation to read more, and obviously that gives you something fun to do in your off time of reading during the read-a-thon. And my last tip is simple. Just don't stress out. No matter how much you read during that read-a-thon, make sure you're just happy with however many books you read. This is a hard tip for me to follow, but I'm definitely going to try my best to follow it in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope that it will help you in the future. And if you guys have any tips for read-a-thons, definitely leave them down below. Now I'm gonna go get back to reading.